Every bottle of Gatorade on Earth exists because 4 doctors tried to sell it to the University of Florida for $10,000, and the university said no. They offered it again. Florida said no again. 5 years later, once the money got obvious, the same university sued them for all of it. The Doctors' Royalty Trust has now collected more than $1 billion. Florida earns roughly $20 million a year from a drink it twice refused to buy for the price of a used car. That makes it the most profitable bad decision in the history of American higher education. But the lawsuit is the small story. The most valuable thing this company ever sold was never in a bottle. It was a doubt about your own body, one you're almost certainly carrying right now. This starts with a question about urine. Gainesville, Florida, 1965. An assistant football coach named Dwayne Douglas walked into the office of a kidney specialist called Robert Cade and asked one of the most profitable questions in American history. "Doctor, why don't football players wee-wee after a game?" It was a good question. His players were losing serious weight every afternoon and barely urinating. In Florida heat, a player sweats out water and salt for hours, so his body quietly shuts down urine production to hang on to what's left. They weren't tired, they were being emptied. So Cade built something to put it back. Water, sodium, sugar. Real medicine, which matters later. It was also revolting. Most of the research team spat it out. Cade swallowed his mouthful and threw it back up. His research fellow, Dr. Dana Shires, said it sort of tasted like toilet bowl cleaner. A doctor on the record reviewing the future best-selling sports drink in America. So they added sugar and lemon juice, taking it from an undrinkable to merely unpleasant, which in 1965 counted as a breakthrough. Then they needed human beings to drink it. Head coach Ray Graves said yes on one condition: only the freshmen who were in no position to refuse. It worked. Florida became famous for getting stronger in the second half, and in January 1967, the Gators came from behind to beat Georgia Tech in the Orange Bowl. Afterward, Georgia Tech's coach Bobby Dodd explained the defeat to reporters. "We didn't have Gatorade. That made the difference." The most famous endorsement in sports drink history, unpaid, at a press conference from a man who just lost. Which was awkward, because Cade now had a famous product and no company. So he offered it to his employer for $10,000, and we've covered how that went. Twice. So he went to Stokely Van Camp, a canned vegetable company in Indiana, and offered them everything outright for $1 million. They said no as well. Everybody in the story spends the 60s refusing to buy Gatorade. What Stokely proposed instead, $25,000 up front, $5,000 bonus, they weren't monsters, and 5 cents every gallon ever sold. 5 cents a gallon, forever, on something about to be poured in every stadium in America. That nickel is the entire fortune. Everything after this is just gallons. By July 1971, the gallons were obvious, and the University of Florida sued. The argument: our labs, our players, our alligator. It was a decent case, filed 5 years too late, with 2 holes in it. Cade had never signed the form that would have handed the university 3/4 of everything. And the research money was a federal grant. Florida was suing over work it hadn't paid for. They settled in 1972. The university took 20% of a product it had twice been offered outright for $10,000. This is remembered as the university winning. Remember the doubt I promised you? This is where they build it. What Cade solved was real, and it was narrow. Grown men losing salt and water for 3 hours in Florida in August. A genuine medical event. A very small number of customers, and every year they graduate. To become $1 billion drink, Gatorade needed the rest of us, jogging for 20 minutes, to buy it anyway. So the job changed. It stopped selling a solution. It started selling the problem. In the 1980s, Gatorade's owner founded the Gatorade Sports Science Institute. Real scientists, real laboratories, real published papers on hydration. Funded by the people who sell the hydration. Its single greatest scientific achievement was convincing you that your own mouth is unreliable. The message, then and now, by the time you feel thirsty, you're already behind. Don't consult your body, consult the schedule. In 1996, the American College of Sports Medicine issued guidance on how much athletes should drink. The actual medical wording, as much as tolerable. which is advice, it is also a serving suggestion. Among the college's founders, the British Medical Journal later documented, was the maker of Gatorade. The debt was excellent for business. Quaker Oats bought the brand in 1983, valued around $100 million. 18 years later, PepsiCo paid $13.4 billion for Quaker, largely to get Gatorade. Quaker's other flagship product is oatmeal. Decide for yourself how much the $13 billion was for oatmeal. Then, in 2012, the BMJ itself went through the evidence underneath it all and found, its words, a striking lack of evidence that sports drink improved performance or recovery at all. The industry called the BMJ biased. The BMJ printed the funders' names again. Here is what they sold you. It was never the drink. You already know when you need water. Your body tells you. That signal is called thirst. It has been working for about 200,000 years. It has never once required a subscription. The most profitable thing anyone ever did with it was persuade you it was broken. That is not my reading. It is the British Medical Journal's. The single greatest success at Gatorade Sports Science Institute, its investigation concluded, and I'm quoting, to undermine the idea that the body has a perfectly good homeostatic mechanism for detecting and responding to dehydration, thirst. In April 2002, a 28-year-old runner named Cynthia Lucero died after the Boston Marathon. She had been drinking heavily at aid stations set about a mile apart. Her brain had swelled, not from dehydration, but from too much fluid, which had diluted the sodium in her blood past the point her body could correct it. 6 months later, Hilary Bellamy died the same way after the Marine Corps Marathon. In 2005, the New England Journal of Medicine studied Boston runners. 13% finished with their blood sodium below the safe range. Most of those cases were mild. No drink killed those women. An idea did. The idea that not feeling thirsty is a warning sign. And yet the chemistry is one of the great ideas in medicine. Sugar and salt, together, let the gut pull water in. Bottled as oral rehydration solution, that principle has saved something like 70 million lives. The Lancet called it the most important medical advance in the 20th century. And the drink still does its original job. On a roof in July, the bottle is not lying to you. For the 20-minute jog, the advice is quietly return to drinking when you're thirsty. Your mouth was never broken. Near the end of his life, Robert Cade said, that question changed our lives. He meant the wee-wee one. He sold the answer for a nickel a gallon and stayed a kidney doctor until he died in 2007. Everyone who came after him worked out that the bigger business was the doubt. Now you know how they started. Not with a fortune, with a coach asking a doctor why his players weren't urinating, and a doctor curious enough to find out. So here's the real solution, and I genuinely want an answer. What else are you buying because somebody convinced you your body couldn't be trusted? Whatever it is, somewhere there's an institute.